Look, I'm not a psychologist, but don't you ever get that feeling that your partner at home is just bipolar?
I'm pretty sure my sibling was. Now that I think back on everything. Possible.
Okay. So we live in a world plagued by COVID-19, but do you know what the largest illness in the world is? Haunting innocent patients daily. And that obviously affects staff within the workplace. So, can an employee be dismissed for mental illnesses? Don't go anywhere. In the workplace, more often than not, we prefer associating people to little robots and expect that the job gets done in the allotted time that staff have to complete their tasks. No excuses, no delays, just results. But in a perfect world, that would be fair. But we don't live in a perfect world now, do we? The most misunderstood condition in the workplace regarding staff is mental health. Businesses are proverbially being robbed daily of staff productivity, but not due to AIDS, cancer, or heart attacks. It's depression. Some workplaces have evolved or even reduced in size. Food and commodity prices have increased. Unemployment has increased, and basic resources needed for human survival, like water, electricity, or medical supplies, are limited or reduced. No wonder many employees may be experiencing heightened feelings of depression and stress. When someone is diagnosed with a physical health illness like cancer, AIDS, or diabetes, he or she seeks treatment immediately and certainly tells friends or family about the treatment. Now, when we turn to mental health disorders such as depression, people tend to keep that to themselves, basically because of myths, stereotypes, and the weakness associated with the illness. A person cannot just get medication and recover from the illness. That's not how it works. Much like treatments for cancer or AIDS, it's a process and not a once-off treatment. So why am I telling you this? Because these people suffering from depression are the very beings running your finance department. The very people making strategic business decisions that equate to millions in terms of revenue. But it also affects the receptionist, that is the face of your company when people enter the doors. The cleaner, quite literally at the bottom of the food chain, or the driver transporting valuable merchandise. No political agendas, no ethnic or racial differences, no geographical borders. It has the potential to affect everyone, no exceptions. Relationships plummet, self-esteem stripped to its very core, and recovery, well, that's a barrier grim to talk about and yet even more difficult to execute. However, some mental illnesses are treatable and recovery is possible. So let me relate that to a case. The employee was employed as a paralegal at an employer for 7 years, and he was an excellent and hard-working employee. 3 years into his employment, he was diagnosed with major depression. The employer, and in particular his direct manager, was notified of his illness. 2 years later, to make matters worse, divorce proceedings were underway, and subsequently, his direct manager represented his wife at the time, which the employee viewed as a conflict and a betrayal from his manager. That same year, the employee's line manager arranged for the employee to see a clinical psychologist. The psychologist issued a report to the employer which noted that the employee carried a lot of frustration, displayed symptoms of burnout, and views his supervisor's conduct as a betrayal. On that basis, the psychologist recommended the issues be resolved as soon as possible in order to create a positive work environment. The employee tried to resolve the issue and the employer failed to meet with the employee, so as you can imagine, the employee's condition would naturally get worse. Obviously, occasional spells of absence occurred, and it didn't help that the employee didn't receive performance bonuses or any increases. The employee was issued with a notice to attend a disciplinary hearing by his direct manager for absence from duty for 17 days, breach of company policies and procedures, gross insolence, and refusal to obey a reasonable and lawful instruction. The employee admitted the allegations against him but raised his mental condition as a defense. The chairperson, as well as the employer, rejected his defense and he was dismissed due to misconduct and not incapacity. The employee approached the Labour Court, contending that his dismissal amounted to an automatically unfair dismissal, and he argued that his employer unfairly discriminated against him on the ground of his disability, and this was the primary reason for his dismissal. So what did the Labour Court say? The Labour Court held that the employer was fully aware of the employee's condition and the clinical psychologist's testimony. The employer was under duty to reasonably accommodate the employee, but it failed to do so. There was a duty to institute an incapacity inquiry instead of dismissing the employee for misconduct. The dismissal was automatically unfair, and the employee had been unfairly discriminated against on the basis of his disability. The employer was ordered to reinstate the employee with full retrospective effect, and additionally was ordered to pay the employee 6 months' salary as compensation for the distress endured as a result of the unfair discrimination. There's really no harm for employers to have wellness programs or health policies in place in order to assist and enable businesses to accommodate employees who might be suffering from mental health issues. Also remember that incapacity procedures are there for a reason. Failing to utilize them will have adverse effects on the employment relationship. Until next time, ciao for now.